to the first episode of Ancient Civilizations. Today we will be studying Egypt. So we're going to start off with the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is written in three scripts: Egyptian hieroglyphs, Egyptian Demotic, and Ancient Greek. It is written in two languages, Egyptian and Greek. It was found in the town of Rosetta, obviously, by Napoleon Bonaparte's soldiers. One soldier decided to keep the stone, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to translate hieroglyphics. Now we're going to head over to the natural resources. The natural resources that some of the natural resources that ancient Egypt had were basalt, amethyst, tin, gold, which was their biggest resource, copper, aquamarine, and granite. Now we're going to head over to the Pharaoh's tomb. And over here, there are some hieroglyphs on the walls. Hieroglyphics are a writing technique that consists of symbols and shapes, which mean different letters, words, sounds, people, numbers, ideas, things, and more. Down here is the tomb of the pharaoh, and over here is the sarcophagus, which you would put the mummy in. Over here are the cat statues that the pharaoh is buried with, and there are other items for the afterlife. Items for the afterlife. Some items that you'll need for the afterlife are drinks, weapons, tools, furniture, food, and clothing. Heading out of the pharaoh's tomb, we will need to make a mummy for this tomb. So we're going to head over to the Wabet, where we will have the ingredients to make a mummy. So what you'll need is surgical instruments, you'll need linen to wrap the body, canopic jars to put the organs in, and amulets to tuck inside the linen. Now we're going to go over the steps on how to make a mummy.
These are the 8 steps to make a mummy. The first step is to get in there and get the brain out. The next step is to cut open the body and take out all the organs. You want to leave the heart in there, though. The next step is to put the organs in canopic jars. After you put it in canopic jars, you want to wash the body. Okay, and then after you wash the body, you're going to salt the body and leave it in the desert for 40 days. After that, you're going to oil the body. Then we're going to stuff the body with some sawdust and other stuff to make the body look like it is alive. And you're going to wrap it up. Those are the 8 steps to make a mummy.
So now we're going to go, now that we've made the mummy, we're going to go to the Nile. Watch out for the crocodiles. So, there are 3 special things about the Nile. The first thing is that the Nile floods every year, which deposits black silt, like this, which helps the farmers grow crops. They also have papyrus, which can be made into papyrus, which is like a paper. And another special thing about the Nile is that it is the longest river in the world. It stretches from all the way from the tippy top of Egypt to Uganda. It also flows north, which means that on this map over here, This is Lower Egypt, and this is Upper Egypt. Now we're going to move on to the Blacklands and the Redlands. The Blacklands is this little area which is called the Blacklands because of the black silt. And this light blue trident looking thing is the Nile, which splits into a delta which deposits into the Mediterranean Sea. Over here are the Redlands, and the Redlands is a barrier that protects the ancient Egypt from other civilizations. And this is one of the things that's protecting them, because their army is not very powerful. Now, there was one civilization that conquered Egypt, and that is the Hyksos. The Hyksos conquered Egypt because they were called the Desert Princes, and they lived in the desert, so it was much easier for them to conquer Egypt. So some of the things that the Hyksos brought to Egypt were bronze working, bows and arrows for long-range combat, music for entertainment, new crops for new sources of food, new animals such as the horse, pottery for art, looming for weaving things, the horse and chariot to charge into battle, the dagger, which is a small knife, and the scimitar, which is a long blade that's curved. Now, during the Hyksos' rule, there was a king that drove them out. King Ahmose drove out the Hyksos with their own weapons and things that they brought to Egypt. There were 3 other important pharaohs that I'm going to tell you about as well. King Menes was the first ever pharaoh of Egypt. Queen Sobekneferu was the first ever female pharaoh in all of Egypt and maybe even the entire world, which means that she probably was the first ever ruler. And she has a god's name in the first 5 letters. King Ahmose I already told you about. Queen Hatshepsut made Egypt a superpower, which means she made Egypt very powerful in almost everything. Now, after we've done that, we're going to move over to the social pyramid, which has what order, who were the most important people and who was the least important people. The first person at the top is the pharaoh. The pharaoh is the ruler of all of Egypt. He's considered a god and can talk to other gods and goddesses through rituals. He or she is a political and military leader and is the most important person in all of Egypt. Next is the government, official, nobles, and priests. They help the pharaoh with those rituals and help the pharaoh make important decisions. The soldiers are the ones that fight for the pharaoh and for the whole civilization. The scribes are the people that go to school for many years to learn hieroglyphs and Egyptian language, to write down things and record things. One pharaoh even became one scribe even became pharaoh. Next are merchants. Merchants are people that sell things such as the natural resources like gold, aquamarine, all of those things for ebony, giraffe tails, panther skins, and other things. Then there are artisans, which are people that make most of the things that you see in the museums today, such as the pottery, the stoneworking, the metalworking, all of that stuff. But most of them we do not know. Most of them are unknown. Farmers. Most people think that the slaves built the pyramids, but actually the farmers did. So during the year when the Nile is flooded, they help build the pyramids or the pharaoh's tomb. But during the year that the Nile recedes, they farm crops. Next are the slaves, which help the farmers grow crops. Now we're going to move on to the achievements of ancient Egypt and what they helped us advance. So some of the things are pyramids, writing, papyrus, black ink, the sickle, irrigation, which they dig canals to help flood different areas, the clock to tell time, the popo or police, the surgical instruments for mummification, wigs, fake hair, cosmetic makeup, toothpaste to clean your teeth, mummification, and this spawns a thing that looks like a mummy. Then there's the shadoof, and this is a water wheel, and this is the closest I could get to a wheel, and the ox-drawn plow, which spawns a cow. Now we're gonna move on. Okay, now we're gonna move on to daily life. Some of the things that Egyptians had were that they weighed the heart. So in the afterlife, when you die, you have to weigh your heart. If your heart is heavier than the feather of Ma'at, that means that you've done a lot of bad deeds in your life. So that means you will not pass on to the afterlife. If your heart is lighter than the feather of Ma'at, you will pass on to the afterlife, which is basic, and pass on to the land of two fields. The land of two fields is basically an Egyptian, regular Egyptian life, except it's perfect. Your soul is split into two parts, your Ka and your Ba. Your Ka hangs out with your friends, and your Ba watches over your household. And they are kept alive if somebody remembers your name. Some other things are that they're polytheistic, which means that they believe in multiple people, multiple gods. The children are the heart of the family, which means that they are highly respected. Women are equal, which means they have the same equal duties as men. They could be punished, which I don't know if that's a good thing. They had dowry, which means that if they brought something into the family, they could take it back if they get divorced. They could get married at 12 to 14 years old. They could refuse marriage. They could divorce. They could own a business. They could get a job, and they could become pharaoh. That's it for Egyptian civilization. Stay tuned for another episode.